Criminalist Behavior Podcast, the podcast that takes you deep into the heart of Louisiana's history and current, most chilling true crime stories. I'll be guiding you through the darkness of these crimes and all of those involved. Each week, we dig deep on those forgotten crimes or those crimes that are continually to happen with the underlying legends that continue to haunt us. So lean in, listen, and get ready, because true crime is anything but ordinary. Stay with me as we unraveled what happened in these mysteries. All right, y'all. So today's case is a little unprepared, as I would. I was not planning on doing this as the first case for season 2, but I think because of how this freaking happened and the start of 2025 year, I mean, this case just needs to be told. And there are still ongoing reports in reference to this incident. But like I said, we're on season 2, episode number 1. And the case I'm covering today is the Bourbon Street attack. So, in case you're unaware of, I mean, it's damn near on every news outlet. It's also in cahoots with the Tesla truck running into the Trump Tower. They thought that it might have had some coincidence or it could have been connected. And I'll get into that later on as I tell this podcast case in itself. But just know that on New Year's Eve, everybody's out celebrating on Bourbon Street. And in case you don't know what Bourbon Street is, it is the party street of Louisiana. Okay? Everybody goes to Bourbon. It's all kind of bars on one little strip, and it's just a place just to have fun, unwind, and just party. It's the party street of New Orleans, quite frankly. So people celebrate New Year's on New Year's Eve, and Shamsud Din Jabbar, this fool, did the unspeakable. So before I get on to the case, I want to give you a little trigger warning first and foremost. Also, if this is your first time listening, hi, my name is Sarah Soudier. I highly recommend that you check season 1 out because, I mean, hello, season 1. But I'm your host for Criminalist Behavior Podcast, and I just really want to thank you for listening to the show. So, trigger warning, this episode may contain content of a graphic nature, including descriptions of physical and sexual violence against adults, animals, and children. Listener discretion is advised. I will try my damnness to not make it so gory, but at the end of the day, you really need to hear the whole story, because what happened in this horrific tragedy needs to be held and told, and everybody just needs to really know the facts of the case and not the speculation surrounding the case. So, Shamsud Din Jabbar, he was an individual who was charged in enticing a terrorist attack, is what everyone's calling it, on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. He reportedly uploaded 3 religious recordings to a program called SoundCloud on his account less than a year ago, and one of which had Satan's voice in it. So law enforcement officials have really examined his social media and wanted to really dig deep into who Jabbar was before this attack occurred, right? So they want to construct a more comprehensive understanding of Jabbar, and the recordings found on the SoundCloud account associated with his name actually provided us an insight into some of his perspectives. SoundCloud, in case you're unaware, it serves as a platform for musicians to record and share music. So Jabbar was not an illegal immigrant like people are suggesting he was. Jabbar was a U.S. citizen. He resided in Texas, and according to friends and family, he practiced Islam, although they also noted that he attended a Christian church whenever he was a kid. So, Jabbar stated in a recording that was uploaded 11 months prior to this incident the following statement: "Instructing others to avoid wrongdoing is an obligation for all humanity." So Jabbar is actually reported to have delivered 3 sermons in which he exalts Allah, and that is obviously part of the Islam religion. And he asserted that engaging in rap and music may lead individuals to the things that God has made forbidden to the people. And specifically, he was referring to the intoxicants. So he claimed that a particular musical recording was responsible for inciting 3 murders in his community within 1 week. And one of the signs indicating the approach of the end of times will be that certain factions of Muslims will no longer regard music as being sinful, is what Jabbar was stating in one of his recordings. Also, he stated, "We observe that Allah will impose punishment upon them through an earthquake and transformation." And he also stated that, as seen in the faith of the children of Israel, their story is documented in Quran, and they should take heed of their errors. That is all what Jabbar was stating in these SoundCloud recordings. Some people that were associated with Jabbar have warned that his views do not encapsulate the entirety of Islam and that they represent a significant departure from his beliefs during his youth. Aran Pasa Palmer, age 42, in an interview stated that he grew up just a block away from Jabbar. And he stated that he recalled Jabbar as a reserved and thoughtful child who exhibited a broader perspective than most of his peers, particularly regarding music. And Palmer stated that he primarily listened to Texas artists, and he noted that Jabbar's musical preferences reached beyond regional boundaries, with Wu-Tang Clan, Outkast, and Nas being among some of his favorite artists. So, Palmer stated that Jabbar was more focused on the lyrics in each song and not just the sound of a song. So some people listen to music for the sound. Most teenage boys, let me put it this way, they all about that bass, right? Trying to make it all loud and boom, boom, boom. Their windows and trunks vibrating. Oh my God, it's ridiculous sounding. I get it. I was young. We all went through that phase. But hell, it sounds like shit. Let's be real. But basically, I understand this perspective is all I was getting at with that. But I actually am too like Jabbar. Like, I listen to the lyrics. I mean, I'm not trying to compare myself to him because he's a horrible freaking person on what he did. But at the same time, most people listen to music for the words. Like, I'm an avid country music listener, but hell, I listen to every genre there is. I love me some swamp pop. Hello, Louisiana roots. But like I said, Jabbar was more focused on the lyrics. And Palmer also mentioned that he hasn't seen Jabbar in over 20 years, and every now and then they would keep in contact with one another through social media, but it was nothing like they used to be whenever they were kids. So whenever Palmer actually discovered this shit happening on the news, he was taken aback. He was troubled, and upon hearing about all this attack, he was just in utter shock. He couldn't believe that his childhood friend Jabbar was the person responsible for this attack. He said, "This is not the individual that we grew up with. He was genuinely a good person. We don't recognize who this Jabbar is." So the New York Times reported that a brother named Abdur Jabbar stated the suspect, aka Jabbar. Now, Jabbar, because he has a crazy first name, and I don't want to get it wrong every single time I say it, I just keep saying Jabbar, but there's a lot of Jabbars in this thing, but I could pronounce their other first names. But Samsud Din Jabbar is the suspect, by the way. So Abdur was Jabbar's brother, and he always stated that Jabbar embraced Islam at a very young age. And in a statement from Abdur Jabbar, he stated, however, his actions do not reflect the teachings of Islam. And Abdur Jabbar was only 24 years old at the time of this attack. And he also stated that Samsud approach on what happened. He said that this is more indicative of radicalization rather than true religious beliefs. Now, I did just cover a case about radicalization, if you don't recall, and that was the Howard Johnson sniper, if you don't remember. And in some instance, this is very similar to that. I mean, one was because he was with the Black Panther. That's the Howard Johnson episode that I covered. I think it was like episode 46, 47, whatever. But nonetheless, this Samsa Jabbar is very similar to that incident. And it happened in the same damn area. Oh my God. So, although Jabbar's recordings on SoundCloud touched briefly about his faith in the Islam religion, they didn't advocate for violence. The FBI indicated in an interview that in the more recent recordings that they found on the SoundCloud that and his social media, that Jabbar spoke of his intentions to initially harm his family and friends before he actually decided to shift his focus to the attack on Bourbon Street. Now, Christopher Rea, who was the Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI's Counterterrorism Division, expressed concern that the media coverage would not adequately address the war between the believers and the disbelievers. So, the reason why Samsa Jabbar decided to not kill his entire family, because he wanted to make it a point for the believers and the non-believers. And his family was part of the Islam religion, so that wouldn't have been a big story as such, the one that he committed on Bourbon Street. So, Jabbar was, according to the FBI, has been reported to have acted independently. Initially, the FBI thought that they suspected Jabbar had accomplices because there was other bombs placed around Bourbon Street. And they revised that assessment to conclude that he was actually acting alone. So, Jabbar stated on one of his SoundCloud recordings the following statement: "All but those who prohibit wrongdoing will face destruction." And that message is the message conveyed by Allah in his flawless scripture, according to Jabbar. Now, Jabbar, a veteran of a U.S. Army, was wearing a ballistic vest and a helmet at the time of this Bourbon Street attack. And in addition to his military service, he was actually currently employed as a real estate agent in Houston, Texas, and worked for Deloitte, one of the largest financial services firms in the country. So, following the attack on Bourbon Street, there were 2 confirmed homemade explosives that were found, and they were discovered at the intersection of Bourbon Street and Orleans Avenue, as well as the 600 block of Bourbon Street. So there was pretty much 3 bombs placed, and one of them in particular was an ice chest. Well, they pretty much were all in ice chests, little coolers with the wheels and the handle. Yeah, he was walking around nonchalant. People do that on Bourbon Street. Like I said, Bourbon Street's a party street, in case you don't freaking know. So, according to New Orleans Police Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick, she stated the following: "Our culture in New Orleans is centered around music. The band arrived and the second line band, and they performed Fly Away because they were honoring these victims in a vigil that they were having." And Ann Kirkpatrick did not want these people to die in vain because of this Samsa Jabbar attack. And Jabbar further asserted that violence within Islamic communities is a manifestation of Allah's retribution, while those who remain faithful would receive divine awards. Jabbar remarked in a recording on a SoundCloud the following: "The melodies of paradise will be far more enticing and sought after than the music of this world, and the obedient will attain all their desires." So, at the age of 42, Samsa Jabbar was shot and killed by law enforcement on New Year's Day. Authorities stated that he drove his truck into a crowd on Bourbon Street during the New Year's celebrations, resulting in 15 fatalities and a amount of injuries. Jabbar was found in possession of an Islamic State flag that was on the back of his truck, literally attached to a trailer hitch. And They were aware that Samsa shared videos upon all the social media platforms expressing his allegiance to ISIS. And law enforcement officials actually were able to retrieve 3 different cell phones and 2 laptops that belonged to Samsa Din Jabbar from the Airbnb he was staying at on Mandeville Street. And the FBI kept asking and still asking for more information in regards to people who might know about this blue cooler that was strategically placed in the French Quarter in the hours leading up to the attack. And Raya indicated that agents are meticulously examining the devices to collect evidence regarding the circumstances that led to these attacks. So, like I said, in case you're not watching this news and you don't know about this, let me inform you what's going down. Buildings were collapsing around the area. The Airbnb that Samsa Din Jabbar was staying at, yeah, it went up in flames. So they were wondering, the building collapsing and everything, was this part of bombs making it do this? Or was this just because New Orleans is an ancient city? Like, it's really not ancient, but like, it's old, right? And they got these old buildings, and it's part of the Louisiana culture. And quite frankly, why I love Louisiana and New Orleans, for instance, because I love antiques, and the old buildings is just fascinating. But I digress. So these buildings were strategically just crumbling to the ground. So they wanted to know, was this because of the bombs that were being placed, or if it was just because they were that old, right? So they did conduct a search at the Airbnb that went up in flames that Samsa Din Jabbar was staying at before he executed the assault down Bourbon Street. And officials actually indicated that they found materials to make bombs with on the Airbnb premises. So Raya characterized the attack as premeditated act of terrorism, noting that Samsa Din Jabbar was motivated by the group of ISIS. Now, ISIS, in case you're living under a rock, because everybody knows what the fuck ISIS is, but ISIS is that terrorist group, right? You know, part of the whole bullshit with bin Laden and all these other fucking terrorist attacks. Yeah, that's what ISIS is. So he was associating himself with ISIS, which obviously, hello, not good. So initially, authorities thought that there might have been multiple suspects, but according to authorities during a press conference, Samsa Din Jabbar was captured on surveillance footage, placing 2 different blue coolers that contained the explosive devices on Bourbon Street several hours before he ran his truck down Bourbon, right? So, people were wondering, like, what the fuck? How the hell he got down Bourbon Street, right? There was actually enhanced law enforcement presence in the French Quarter because they knew it was going to draw a big crowd. Hello, Bourbon Street's always fucking packed. But also, it was New Year's Eve. Everybody's out getting drunk and celebrating. I'm sure that shit went down. I'm sure that shit went crazy. Oh, on another note, while I'm just thinking about it, because it just popped in my freaking head, this same damn time after Jabbar fucking did this shit on Bourbon Street, they had this other idiot a few streets down who decided to shoot some shit up. Like, that shit that just happened wasn't fucking enough, right? You had to go, and we're going to cover that case too, best believe. So, nonetheless, multiple groups of National Guardsmen were deployed across the French Quarter. There was 8 guardsmen that were strategically placed within 6-block radius along Chartres Street, while additional officers were stationed at the barricades near Canal Street. Authorities had also assured the public of heightened security protocols in the city in anticipation to reschedule the Sugar Bowl game. So there was this Sugar Bowl game that was supposed to happen the very same weekend, but because of all the rigmarole around New Year's Eve and New Year's Day celebration, they decided to postpone the Sugar Bowl games to a later day, which was actually 2 days after this attack, by the way. So, a chronicle account of this incident: at 8 a.m. on New Year's Day, Samsa then Jabbar accelerated through a whole crowd on Bourbon Street. When I say accelerated, this motherfucker was flying down there. This bitch must have been doing at least, it looked like he was doing like 70 miles an hour down Bourbon. And I don't know how the fuck that's even possible, because damn. But as he's flying down Bourbon, I mean, he's hitting everything in his freaking path. You know what stopped this MFA? The only thing that stopped him was a crane in the middle of the damn street. Now, why is there a crane in the middle of the damn street? Good question, considering the fact that you knew all this shit was happening. You knew people were going on Bourbon. You had a Sugar Bowl that weekend. Game plan. You also had New Year's Eve. Why is there a crane on Bourbon Street? I'm thankful that there is, because I'm sure there could have been more catastrophic damage than that was already done. But damn, there was this crane down the street, and that's what stopped Jabbar, right, from going any further. It's just ludicrous to me. So, in a subsequent exchange of, after Jabbar got out of his truck, because, yeah, he did survive that crash. How? I don't even freaking know. But he survived a crash hitting that damn crane. He got out and he just started firing. He was firing his gun throughout the crowd, hitting police officers and other civilians. And what you think is going to happen? People were firing back. The police were firing back at him. I mean, he was shot dead. Boom. There's video surveillance. I'm not going to show the videos, but I will post some pictures. I'm not going to post the most gruesome pictures because, yeah. If you want to see that, hit me up. I got you. But I'm not just going to post that on my video because, like, this shit is fucking disturbing. I have more respect for these victims than not. But let it be known. Let it be known. There was brain scattered all over, tendons, a hand with a tendon attached to it. Like, when I tell you this dude plowed through some fucking people, I mean, he literally plowed through them, ran them down, y'all. Ran them down. So, people that was attending heading to the Sugar Bowl, the following day should have anticipated the heightened security. Because after this attack happened, they brought in several more security measures. And people was wondering, like, why the hell they didn't have any security measures before other than this cop car. Because if you look at the video of Samsa bin Jabbar traveling down Canal Street to get onto Bourbon, you would see that he actually went around a police car and then freaking went flying down Bourbon Street, okay? So, what happened is, following sunset on that following day, on New Year's Day, FBI actually transferred the crime scene to the local authorities. And they actually were treating that incident as a potential act of terrorism. So, only a small number of FBI agents were actually present in the French Quarter. And there were numerous New Orleans police officers and Louisiana State Police troopers that were stationed at the barricades and along through the other different areas of Bourbon, right? So, the FBI confirmed that by Friday, so the 3rd of January, 2025, there were at least 35 people that were injured in an attack and 15 that succumbed to their injury. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the victims. First victim is 26-year-old Andrew Dolphin. Andrew was from Montgomery, Alabama, and he had a nickname named Drew. And he found his greatest joy whenever he went to Lake Martin, which was in Dadeville, Alabama, and he enjoyed going there with his younger brother, Matthew. Now, Drew's family described him as possessing an infectious smile with an exceptional personality who could just light up any room that he ever walked in. And the family asked these following questions. Who is expected to articulate the feelings surrounding this type of situation? And in a statement, Drew's family stated the following: our family is enduring a level of suffering that is beyond comprehension. And according to Drew's LinkedIn profile, he was actually employed by Honda as a supplier process manager. And Auburn University confirmed through social media that he graduated in 2023. And y'all, that was just last year. And Drew was actually affiliated with the Phi Delta Theta International Fraternity. And he graduated from Alabama Christian Academy before he attended Auburn State University. And he graduated from Alabama Christian Academy in 2016. The profound grief experienced by the Auburn family for Drew's family and friends during this incredibly challenging period is beyond capacity of words to express. And that was what the president of Auburn University, Christopher Roberts, stated. Now, Drew's family expressed that nurturing him will forever remain one of their greatest joys, and they are currently feeling just numb, in shock, due to this tragic and senseless event, as any parent would. I couldn't imagine losing a child, more or less, just in this freak-ass accident, this act of terror. And one of Drew's close friends stated the following statement: Drew will now eternally reside in the sunlight at the lake he cherished so deeply. The second victim was 23-year-old Kareem Badawi, and he lived in Baton Rouge. He went to Episcopal School Community at Baton Rouge, and Kareem was stated to be a reliable friend and a dedicated teammate. And the head football coach at Episcopal School stated the following: Kareem's focus was never on himself. It was consistently on others, which set him apart from everyone else. And he also stated he had a genuine affection for people. His family and friends were everything to him. So on New Year's Eve, while they were out on Christmas break, University of Alabama, Kareem Badawi was at home when he and several friends from the Baton Rouge area traveled to New Orleans. And Bilal Badawi, Kareem's father, was contacted by Kareem and the national media after Kareem's passing. And Kareem's father stated that he expressed his appreciation for the presence of his friends and family at the vigil that was held at Episcopal School. And he shared the following statement: he had a passion for everything. He stated that his son enjoyed sports, and he was in actually 3 different sports, which is ludicrous because Lord knows I know how that works with 2 children in every damn sport. So baseball, basketball, and football is what Kareem was in. And he took a pleasure in just bringing joy to everyone he was around. And according to Kareem's friend Ethan, he was perpetually carefree. He never seemed to be stressed. And Ethan stated that they first crossed paths as freshmen in Episcopal, and he stated that his first encounter with Kareem during one of their early adversary sessions for new students. And Ethan described Badawi as a tall and reserved individual, and he took the initiative to forge their friendship by engaging in FIFA, Badawi's preferred game on Xbox. Years later, while they shared a room at the University of Alabama, it was Badawi who encouraged Ethan to participate in the various college events. And Ethan stated the following: he became much more sociable than I was, particularly at the beginning of the semester. And at the time of the attack on Bourbon Street, Badawi was among a group of friends from Baton Rouge area who was on the Christmas break, and they were just celebrating New Year's in New Orleans. They actually formed a close-knit community, and Ethan's father and a radio personality from the Baton Rouge area stated that Kareem was an exceptionally popular and intelligent young man. And Kareem completed his education at, Lord, I just said this word and now I'm having trouble. Episcopal in 2024. So he literally just finished school, y'all. He graduated alongside of Ethan, and according to Ethan, they frequently traveled together for spring break, attended soccer matches, and even traveled abroad for a wedding in Badawi's family. Now, both athletes played as defensive ends on Episcopal's football team, and Badawi was remembered arriving to tryouts as a tall and slender teenager. Initially, he believed Badawi might excel as a receiver. So, according to Bourgeois, one of the coaches, he stated, what Kareem set apart from everyone else was that it truly didn't matter to him. He was someone who genuinely enjoyed making others happy and was always willing to assist in any way he could. Now, Kareem demonstrated an exceptional academic performance, and he wasn't just good at sports, he was actually good in the classroom as well. Now, we do know that most players tend to focus more on the sport as opposed to the classroom, but Kareem focused on both. And he was actually going to school to pursue a career in engineering. So, last fall, he enrolled in the University of Alabama, where he became dormitory roommates with Ethan, and that's when they both pledged to Sigma Chi fraternity. And according to Ethan, in November they attended the LSU Alabama football game together, which, oh my god, I'm an LSU fan. Hello, Louisiana here. go LSU. Not a Bama fan at all, but my sister is. So in November, they attended the LSU and Alabama football game together. Both concluded their first semester with commendable grades and cherished memories. Earlier this year, they actually attended the Episcopal game together, and they found their bond to be sort of like brothers. Now, Jimmy mentioned that his son had taken an Uber back to his hotel just before the attack on New Year's Eve. And in a statement, President Stuart Bell of the University of Alabama extended his condolences. Third victim was Brandon Taylor. He was 43 years old, and he was from Harvey, Louisiana. And he was actually welcomed the new year along with his fiancée, Heather Janusa, when this truck just plowed through Bourbon Street, just striking them. And Janusa expressed that Taylor cherished the city of New Orleans deeply, but she feels that the city has failed him. And his fiancée stated the following: he cared for me immensely. Our lives have been irrevocably changed. Our shared future has been entirely destroyed, and my future husband has been taken from me. Now, Taylor was among the rest of the individuals who lost their lives, right? And the law firm Maples and Connick intends to initiate a lawsuit against the city of New Orleans and the New Orleans Police Department, citing negligence that contributed to the terrorist attack. So, next victim is 21-year-old, and he was from Gretna, Louisiana, and his name was Hubert Gautreaux. Now, Hubert was part of the Archbishop Shaw High School, and he was a graduate of the institution. And school officials reported that Hubert completed his education in 2021, and he was only 21 years old at the time of this incident. And in response to this tragic incident, the school actually released the following statement: it is with profound sadness that we announce the untimely death of our luminous Hubert Gautreaux, class of 2021, who was senselessly killed in the violent act that took place early this morning in the French Quarter. He was only 21 years old. We urge the entire Archbishop Shaw community to pray for the peace of Hubert's soul, as well as for family and friends during this challenging period, and for all those impacted by these tragedy. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. May the souls of the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. So, the 21-year-old appears to be following a typical path for someone from Louisiana. He was in the oilfield industry, and he celebrated the holidays with a large, close-knit group of people in Gretna. and he was always said to look out for everyone around him. So while he was ringing in the new year in the French Quarter, he was exemplifying his lifestyle. And his sister described him as being sweet and selfless. He escorted a friend back to her hotel before he actually returned to continue the festivities on Bourbon Street. And in his last moments, he sent a text to his family to wish them a Happy New Year. Now, Gautreaux was accompanied by a friend from the Archbishop Shaw High School, which he had attended. And while his friend survived, Hubert did not. On Saturday evening, the family gathered with the numerous of other mourners at the vigil held close to the location where Gautreaux passed. A brass band performed, attendees gazed upward, and some enjoyed beers as they absorbed the atmosphere. And in recognition of the young man's passion for the Chicago White Sox, all the people who was attended donned White Sox hats, y'all. And he was actually making efforts to enhance his sense of style. And Hubert's sister Brooke posted on Facebook the following: "My dear, selfless young brother, you deserved far more than this. I am at a loss for how to continue without you." Y'all, this is just so horrific. One moment somebody's there, the next is not. Death just happens in a blink of an eye. I've seen death happen slowly. I've seen it happen in a blink of an eye. It is truly an unremarkable feeling. It really, truly is. So, as the reports were circulating through Bourbon Street, they recounted the family's agonizing wait upon realizing that Hubert's phone was constantly pinging near the Galore Torres restaurant, which was located at the 200 block of Bourbon Street. The family remained at the University Medical Center, anxiously seeking information. And a semblance of closure was achieved when a team from the Louisiana State Police, which included a trooper who had tried to revive the young man during his last moments, escorted the family back to the site where he passed. Now, Matthew Tenedorio was 25 years old, and he was from Picayune, Mississippi. He had infectious laughter, and according to his cousin Zach, he stated the following: "He was simply a person just filled with joy. We would enter my grandmother's home, and he would immediately burst into giggles." At the age of 25, Matthew was among one of the victims, and just hours prior, he had been celebrating with his family, lighting fireworks, and just enjoying the moments of laughter. Family gatherings played a significant role in Matthew's life. With a mother who has 5 siblings, he grew up alongside 2 brothers and a numerous amount of cousins, which just Louisiana. We have shit tons of family, y'all. And all of his cousins were like brothers to him. And they all relocated from New York to Slidell whenever Matthew was a child. He also spent time in Picayune, Mississippi, and he actually completed his education at the Pearl River Central High School. Numerous children were present, and they all created a significant amount of disorder. However, it was a positive kind of disorder, as Culligan, Matthew's cousin, was saying that they did create disorder, but it was just like a happy disorder. Like, because, they have those unruly kids that are in classrooms and, they could just be disorderly, but they could just be complete pricks or assholes. But they weren't. They was just being the class clown, right? And so, the cousins might engage in minor mischief, have a brief disagreement, and then they would resume doing what they were doing. And Matthew worked as an audio-visual technician for Caesars Superdome, which, hell yeah, that's freaking cool. And he always expressed joy when he told everyone about his job. His father also had a position at the Superdome. And according to Zach, he stated the following: I believe he simply wanted to follow in his father's footsteps. And Matthew was said to have had a deep affection for both people and animals, and his family will remember him as a kind and loving individual. He was an uncle to one niece and 3 nephews. And Zach said the man didn't possess a single mean bone in his body. How freaking sad is that, y'all? Because this world is just full of fucking hate. And to know that he was just full of joy and he didn't possess a mean bone in his body. Boo, that's all you, because that ain't me. So once Matthew's grandparents were actually informed about the tragedy about Matthew, they sat together in a chair and they just cried and cried and cried on hours end. His family remains in a state of disbelief, and a few days after this event, it was still difficult to grasp that the image was being broadcasted on the news of Matthew's death. And Zach said it just felt so surreal. That's our Matthew. It's truly our Matthew. Yeah, that just broke my heart. Like, I mean, just the pain and agony this family and everyone surrounding him just went through. Governor Tate Reeves of Mississippi extended prayers for Matthew and another victim from Mississippi, Nikidra Dedo, and he did so on social media. So Matthew's extended family has actually initiated a GoFundMe campaign to assist his parents with the cost of funeral arrangements. So 18-year-old, the youngest of them all, Nikidra Dedo from Gulfport, Mississippi, also known as Nikidra Cheyenne Dedo. She actually left Gulfport to travel to New Orleans with her cousin to celebrate the New Year on Bourbon Street. However, her heartbroken mother revealed that she was one who actually succumbed to her injuries with this attack on Bourbon. And she said, and her mom's name is Melissa, and she was only 40 years old at this time that her daughter just tragically passed. I only want to see my baby. She was the kindest person. She would give you anything, absolutely anything. Now, Melissa called Nikira by her middle name, and that was Cheyenne. So from this point on, I'm going to just call Nikira Cheyenne. So Cheyenne was known to her family by that name. Was not meant to be in New Orleans because her mother actually was against it. She had secretly traveled there with her 18-year-old cousin and friend Zion Parsons, who was also only 18 years old at the time. And Parsons recounted that the group was departing from the Voodoo Chicken and Daiquiri area located on Bourbon Street near Benville when he heard a disturbance accompanied by several loud noises. And according to Melissa Dedo's niece, gunfire erupted, prompting them to flee. In her haste, Cheyenne Dedo ran into the street, directly into the path of this horrible person, which resulted in severe injuries. The family gathered with Melissa Dedo's visibly distressed niece as they scoured a French Quarter in search of the location where the trio had parked their vehicle the previous evening. Cheyenne was the third oldest amongst Melissa's 6 children, and she was described as a ray of sunshine. Melissa expressed the following: "She was my favorite. She was my child." Cheyenne graduated from Harrison Central High School in Gulfport, Mississippi just this year. Well, I say this year. 2024. I'm still stuck in 2024. I know we're in 2025, but fuck. And Cheyenne was actually registering to become part of the nursing program at Blue Cliff College on January 13th. And she was doing this because she was inspired by her mother, who was also a nurse. Cheyenne, according to her mother, was exceptionally intelligent and a sociable young woman. She had never been involved in any trouble. And her friends actually nicknamed Cheyenne Biscuit. So she was known as Biscuit by her friends. And she was described as someone who was never down or grumpy, and referred to as a little ball of sunshine, noting her ability just to uplift her friends. And whenever she sensed negativity or a lack of enthusiasm, she just wanted to uplift that. So Parsons stated, those individuals who are simply impossible to dislike? Yeah, she was one of those. Cheyenne's mom characterized her daughter as a well-liked individual who consistently found herself in the company of all her friends. Now, when she wasn't working, she was either resting or spending time with her friends. She always had groups of friends with her. Cheyenne was affectionately known as both a mama's girl and a daddy's girl, and she often sought most of her attention from her father, Nicholas Dato. And during disagreements with her mother, she would run to her father. So according to her mom, Melissa, she awaited updates from law enforcement as she scoured through Bourbon Street, looking at all the people and the children and teenagers. And she said the following: I was completely unaware that she actually came over here. Regardless how kind or good-natured you may be, you could still end up in a tragic situation. Events like this can occur. And according to one of Cheyenne's friends, they stated the following: I just saw my friend die. Zion was lingering outside the New Orleans Police Department's French Quarter station, hoping anybody could tell him whether his friend, Nakira Cheyenne Detto, was okay. But as we know, she was not. 27-year-old from Metairie, Nicole Perez, was a mother, and she had recently received a promotion to a manager position at a deli where she worked. And according to her employer, prior to this death, she was actually preparing to relocate to a new apartment and was actively teaching her 5-year-old son reading and mathematics. Y'all, this poor child now has to grow up without his mother. So following the incident, the child was actually given to the care of family members after this horrible accident. And Usher, the owner of Kimmy's Deli in Lakeway, stated the following about Nicole: she was simply out with her friends last night when this tragedy occurred. But authorities have not yet disclosed the identities of everyone who lost their lives in the attack. However, family members have confirmed that a father from Baton Rouge, an 18-year-old girl from Mississippi, and a former prominent football player from Lafayette were amongst the victims. And according to Usher Perez, she actually was facing significant challenges. She remained committed to her work and was driven by her desire to support her son. She would leave work for 5:30 a.m. to ensure she was there on time. And she was an excellent mother. She adapted quickly and was determined to achieve success. Usher became acquainted with Nicole several years prior through Nicole's sister. And the family stated, it has not been a favorable day for the family. Now, a GoFundMe campaign was created to cover burial costs to support Perez's son. And the next victim I'm going to talk about was from Prairieville. He was 37-year-old Reggie Hunter. He was a father of 2 from Baton Rouge. And Reggie had just finished his work shift and spontaneously decided to go out on New Year's to celebrate the whole new year with his cousin on Bourbon Street. And Sherelle Jackson was that cousin. Now, Reggie's and Sherelle was just celebrating the new year, and Sherelle recalled making this statement. They chose to go out because he had just come home from work. And they said, hey, the Sugar Bowl is tomorrow. It's New Year's Eve. Let's head to the city. It was just a simple invitation. Hey, cousin, would you like to join me in the city? So both Reggie and his cousin were struck by the traveling truck going rapidly down Bourbon Street. And Hunter actually succumbed to his injuries. And his cousin was amongst at least 35 others who sustained injuries, and the other 14 who actually passed. He actually sustained significant internal injuries, and according to his cousin Jackson, he stated the following: "It is difficult, especially since his mother was murdered in 2016. This is just all resurfacing the many memories." Now, Reggie was born in California, but he spent majority of his life in Baton Rouge and the Independence regions. For the past 6 years, he had been employed as a warehouse manager, and according to his family members, he was an active participant in the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club and had intentions of attending the upcoming ball. He took great pride in his 12-year-old son's achievements. Oh my God, 12-year-old son, y'all. And Zulu, by the way, is carnival, the parades. So that's what he was part of. And, y'all, Reggie had a 12-year-old son and an 18-month-old son. That 18-month-old son will never get to know his father. He enjoyed exercising with his family and friends, and Jackson stated the following: he wanted to be in the gym with his buddies and cousins, and he would say, "I'm getting swole." I reply, "Where? You're so small." His cousin Jackson described their close-knit family as compromising and country boys and pretty boys, and they just lived an urban lifestyle. The tennis shoes must coordinate with the hats. And Reggie had a passion for fashion. Dude, I just rhymed and didn't even realize it. Okay, I'm out. And Reggie was actually seen in polo tracksuits and Jordan sneakers. He consistently wore an elegant fragrance, aka cologne, y'all. And during Christmas, he was actually anticipating finding socks and underwear in a stocking, and he wanted the brand of Louis Vuitton. So he was just this fancy person. And Reggie and other family members all were just so close, and they never anticipated the gathering would actually be their final Christmas with Reggie. They're now in the process of setting up a GoFundMe, not GoFans, OnlyFans, whatever the hell that shit is. No, a GoFundMe to cover his funeral expenses. And the cousin Jackson expressed the following statement: "You're hoping for a successful year in 2025, yet you never imagined this is the kind of news you would receive. Brother, I'm here with you. Because, Lord, 2025 has not been good to me either." I seen this Facebook post, and it said that I'm going to just start my 2025 in February, because fuck January. Fuck January. We only on the 8th of January, but y'all, nope, I'm not okay. I am not okay. January has just been so cruel. Hell, since November, but I digress. The next victim I'm going to talk about is 27 years old from New York City, Martin Beck. Y'all. Now, Martin Beck is only 27 years old, but damn, this young man, accomplished so much. He was actually transported from Bourbon Street to the hospital in New Orleans, where he later succumbed to his injuries. So, in the afternoon on the same day, they actually all gathered in memory of Beck at the STM Chapel. Now, Beck was a 2021 graduate from Princeton University. Y'all heard that, right? Princeton, that Ivy League school. Yeah. He had a degree in finance, and he was actually living in New York and working as a trader at a brokerage firm. Y'all, let me remind y'all, Beck is almost 27 years old. You see how much he accomplished? Princeton, y'all, and was at a brokerage firm? Huh? So, they called Beck by Tiger. And they said that he was truly exceptional, and they have never encountered anyone capable of performing on the football field as he did. And throughout their time at St. Thomas and during the football career at UL, they have witnessed talented players, but Beck was just exceeding all expectations. Tiger exhibited abilities that were remarkable, especially considering his physique and shorter stature. But he actually packed a powerful punch, y'all. Y'all ever heard that saying, small like a fucking bomb, like a ticking time bomb? Oh, yeah. Beck was one of those. He may have been small, but he packed that punch whenever he was on tackling on the football field. And Beck actually earned recognition as a first-team All-District and All-Acadiana player for STM. He was a multifaceted athlete, and he actually was said to have a total of 1,646 yards and scored 19 touchdowns, which included 630 rushing yards with 5 touchdowns, 874 passing yards with 11 touchdowns, and 8 receptions for 142 yards and 3 additional touchdowns. He was smoking, y'all. And I don't mean smoking by smoking a cigarette or whatever else you want to put in your pipe. No. He was actually out there doing his thing and just a very, very, very great athlete. And according to one of Beck's friends, they stated the following: watching Tiger compete, whether on the lacrosse field or the football field, because Beck was also a lacrosse player, it was just a remarkable experience. He was not only a gifted player, but he also had an extraordinary mindset. And during his whole 3-year tenure at Princeton, he actually recorded 53 receptions for 825 yards and scored 3 touchdowns. And they discussed that pending his entry to the NFL draft, that Beck was on his way there. And they were just very proud of him. So they said that Beck was a selfless teammate. He was an exceptional player and an outstanding individual. We all admired him. He was the top receiver in our group. He made everything appear effortlessly. He was always willing to teach, especially since others played different positions. One of the players stated that Beck would help him in his position. And his teammates said that he started as a running back, and Beck took him under his wing and educated him about that position. He was just a humble person, genuinely. And another teammate says that Beck's influence extended well beyond sports. This particular teammate stated that he arrived during Beck's senior year, and during that time, he became acquainted with Beck and discovered a remarkable depth and maturity with him. And he made the following statements: what might sometimes be perceived as overconfidence or even arrogance was, in fact, a profound personality that drew people in. Beck was truly an exceptional individual due to his achievements of his younger brother, Jack Cannon. Along with his former coaches and teammates, had the opportunity to see Beck frequently over the years. And Cannon stated the following: I am very grateful for the time I spent with him. When we went to Princeton, he would often return to watch others play. And he always made it a point to stop and greet Jack, which was this teammate that made the statement. Now, Jack also made the following statement about Beck, and he said that Beck touched his life for sure. And when he found out that Beck was amongst the other individuals during this terrorist attack on Bourbon Street, he was crushed, and it's just going to be rough from here on out. Now, the next victim is 63-year-old Terrence Kennedy. And Terrence was from New Orleans, and like I said, 63 years old, and he had been reported missing. But the identity was actually confirmed eventually, that he was one of those who tragically lost their lives on the Bourbon Street attack. Now, Terrence was also known as Terry, and he went to Bourbon Street to celebrate New Year's Eve, just like everyone else. And according to Kennedy's niece, Monisha, the family began to worry when they had not heard from him on New Year's Day. He let them know that he was planning to go to Bourbon Street for a drink to ring in the new year, but James, 43, mentioned that her cousin reached out to contact the Orleans Parish Coroner's Office, who confirmed that death of her uncle, and Terry was actually taken to East Jefferson General Hospital, where he was later succumbed to his injuries. And James received a call from her father that day with the heartbreaking news. She recounted during an interview with the Times-Picayune the following statement. He was shouting, "It's him. I had never truly witnessed my father in tears." James described her uncle as a gentle individual who was always willing to assist others. Now, Terry was raised in uptown New Orleans, and he actually completed education at Walter Cohen High School. And according to his family, he said that Terry had a passion for NFL football, particularly the Saints and the Chiefs. Like, let's not go with the Chiefs, but I got you on them Saints, boo. We got to rep that home team. And ultimately, he actually cheered for those Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, this dude was a fan for 3 football teams: the Chiefs, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Saints. Like, what? Diehard Saints fan here. Yep, win or lose, doesn't really matter. Also LSU, F Bama. Woohoo. Anyways, Terry was one of 9 siblings, and James mentioned that her father's family had previously lost an older brother years ago, and in recent years, 3 more siblings had succumbed to illnesses. And with Terry's passing, the number of surviving siblings has only dwindled down to 4 out of 9, which is a heartbreaking situation for the family. And James referred to her uncle as the following: the kindest individual in the world. And she also stated, simply relishing his city and not disturbing anyone, but yet he tragically lost his life. 40-year-old Elliot Wilkinson was from Slidell, and the New Orleans coroner's office actually verified Elliot passing on Friday afternoon. Cecil Wilkinson, which was Elliot's older brother, expressed his grief on a Facebook post stating the following: his younger brother was cherished and will be deeply missed. And he made this following statement, word for word, y'all. I understand that life presented challenges for you at times. However, I was not prepared to receive the phone call this morning informing me that you were amongst those affected in the New Orleans and French Quarter terrorist attack. According to his brother, Elliot had struggled with mental health issues and had recently been released from being incarcerated prior to this incident. Cecil indicated that his brother had the option to stay with him or other family members in Slidell. However, he chose not to impose in on them. Both of their brothers were students at Northside High School in Lafayette, and they had not communicated for a period of 6 months prior to Cecil receiving the call from the coroner notifying of his brother's untimely death. And according to Joe Heron Mueller, a representative of Unity, a nonprofit organization dedicated to addressing homelessness in New Orleans, Elliot had recently been referred to a housing program and had begun his search for a new apartment just 2 days before Christmas, y'all. And case managers from Travelers Aid, 2 days prior to this attack, another nonprofit organization that was focused on the homeless, presented Elliott with 2 potential housing options as stated by the executive director, Donna Paramore. Now, Elliott was also independently seeking alternative locations that would participate in the housing program. And Paramore, the executive director of Travelers Aid, made the following statements in regards to Elliott. We are deeply saddened, not only for our client, but for all the victims of this tragic event. It is quite common for individuals without housing to be found dead in the French Quarter or to be porting in the French Quarter, indicating that the organization has assisted 235 of their clients in that area since December 16. And Heron Muller stated in an email, although this attack does not appear to have been aimed at those experiencing homelessness, the inherent vulnerability and exposure of unhoused and unsheltered individuals indeed heightens their risk of violence and injury in general. So, y'all, he was just, instead of imposing on his family, he decided to just live on the streets, being homeless. How senseless is that? You'd rather be homeless instead of imposing on your family? Damn. So, next victim is 25-year-old William DeMaio, and he was from Holmdel, New Jersey. And he was always in motion, engaging in lacrosse, participating in marathons, exercising, or just assisting his family and others in need. His father stated that he was a kind and modest young man. He had a passion for life. 25 years old, and just had to be taken in this senseless act of terrorism. He was a kind and gentle spirit, and his absence will be profoundly felt. And that was the mother's statement. And William's mom's name was Tracy. Now, William was actually an account executive with Odyssey, Inc., based in New York. He was the oldest of 3 siblings, and he shared a close bond with both his sister and his brother. And Tracy, one of his closest friends, stated, we all engaged in activities together. Billy was deeply family-orientated, and as noted by his family, he cherished moments spent with all of his relatives and even had a tattoo that included the names of all his cousins. Bro, I ain't got enough skin on my body to have all the cousins' names tattooed on my body because, Lord, I have a humongous family. Hell, I don't even know half of them. Okay, let's just go that route. But he actually tatted all his cousins' names. So, according to Tracy, she made the following statement as well. He prioritized his family and his friends, and they were just incredibly important to them. He spent his childhood on Long Island, New York, where he first discovered his love for lacrosse. And according to his father, he began playing and quickly developed a passion for it. His enthusiasm for the sport continued to flourish even after the family relocated to Holmdel, New Jersey. And this is when Billy participated in various sports such as football, hockey, and running, and lacrosse ultimately became his primary focus. So Billy served as the captain on his team at Chestnut Hill College in Philadelphia, where he took the initiative to train the younger players. And upon his undergraduate studies in 2022, he pursued and obtained a master's degree in business. And in 2023, just a year, a little more than a year, but damn near freaking a year before this bullshit-ass terrorist attack, he actually commenced his professional career in Odyssey. So the following statement was released by Odyssey. Beyond his professional achievements, Billy will be fondly remembered for his unwavering work ethic, positive attitude, and kindness. He was a true asset to the Odyssey team, and his contributions and presence will be deeply missed. Our thoughts are with Billy's family and friends during this exceedingly difficult time, and we extend our deepest sympathies to them and every member of the Odyssey family who had the privilege of working with him. Now, Billy journeyed to New Orleans just to ring in the new year as the rest of all these tragic victims. And they were actually going to participate in attending the Sugar Bowl. And his friends were actually unharmed during this incident. Billy was the only one amongst the whole crowd of his friends and him that was actually struck in this incident. The DeMaio family reflected on Billy's character, describing him as a beacon of positivity who sought to bring joy to those around him. He was an extraordinary child, his father said. His talent was evident to everyone from the beginning. Now, y'all, New Orleans always brings in people, right? And according to all the news outlets and everything, the last victim that I'm going to talk about, the second to last victim I'm going to talk about is Edward Pfeiffer, and I hope I said that correctly. And he was from London, England, y'all. He was a British citizen, and he was only 31. And he was actually said to have ties with the royal family. He was oh my God, I'm gonna be able to talk today, y'all. He was actually the stepson of the former nanny of Prince William and Prince Harry. So the Pettifer family characterized Edward as an exceptional son, brother, grandson, nephew, and friend to numerous individuals. And the Pettifer family stated the following statement in an interview. "We will deeply mourn his absence. Our hearts go out to the other families who have suffered the loss of their loved ones as a result of this dreadful attack." The royal family actually released a statement regarding the British citizen who lost his life as well. William stated the following. Prince William, in case y'all didn't catch that. "Catherine and I are profoundly shocked and saddened by the untimely passing of Ed Pettifer. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Pettifer family and all the innocent individuals who have been tragically affected by this appalling incident." Finally, the last victim I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to wrap this episode up because, damn, it's already long enough. Then I'm going to get into this asshole that caused all this shit and some other things in reference to the whole, like, how the hell this was able to happen. Where's the security? Like, what the fuck is happening, right? Last victim is 45-year-old Latasha Polk. She resided in the Trim neighborhood and was characterized as a diligent nurse's assistant. And according to her family, she was actually the mother of a 14-year-old son. Man, oh man, I know that's affecting her son. Oh my God. Oh, this is just all horrible. Like, I feel so bad for all these families. Now, Latasha's identity was one of the last victims to be identified, and it was verified by her brother, Raynell Bates, and her aunt, Kim Polk. They were present at the vigil that was actually held that following Saturday in the French Quarter to honor all the victims of the whole horrendous attack. And the alleged perpetrator, Sam Sud-Din Jabbar from Texas, operated a white Ford 150 containing homemade explosives, traversing nearly 3 blocks, striking numerous people. And he was fatally shot at the scene after he exited the truck, exchanging gunfire with law enforcement. Now, Polk was celebrating the new year, and alongside her brother, Princess Polk, age 45, who remained unaccounted for as reported by their family members on Saturday. The family was making arrangements to visit local hospitals because they were looking for Prentice's, their brother, right, of Natasha. So following her passing, her family was convinced that Latasha would have wished for the city to come together in celebration, not to mourn her death. A dedicated individual from the Trim neighborhood of New Orleans so that Polk understood what many residents of the city expressed, that engaging in dance, song, and embracing loved ones can provide comfort amidst the profound sorrow. Now, Kim Polk remarked at the vigil the following: "She would not want us to grieve." Now, Natasha traveled to Bourbon Street from Arkansas to, not Natasha, I'm sorry. The aunt traveled from Arkansas, Kim. She traveled from Arkansas to assist in the search for her niece prior to receiving the coroner's call. And she recalled the following: "Simultaneously, we cannot ignore our own selfish desires to have her back. It is absurd for someone to take her life along with the lives of so many innocent individuals." And y'all, I'm recording in my house, and apparently my cat's just like pawing at the damn door trying to get in. And I'm sorry for that if y'all heard that. I just want to let y'all know all that squeaking was my cat pawing at the door, okay? I do apologize. But, so, following her passing, her family was convinced that Latasha would have wished for the city to just come together. And since the attack, it has become alarmingly easy to access graphic videos and imaging depicting the tragedy of this horrendous incident. Although these visuals portray significant devastation, Bates noted that they have provided a certain level of closure as he reflects on the events of his sister's final moments. Bates, echoing the sentiments of other families, urged individuals to refrain from disseminating videos of the attack as they've been distressing for Polk's mother. He characterized that his sister was a compassionate individual and that she had taken care of him throughout their upbringing. And he expressed that he did not hold the New Orleans city government accountable for her death, despite the criticism it has received regarding the security measurements in place for the incident. Her brother lamented that he had not reached out to her more often, and he regretted it. He stated the following statements: and we all do this when something tragic happens to a loved one or whatever. The would have, could have, should have. Man, I should have did this. I wish I would have done this. I could have done this. What if she? What if he? You know, we all do that. It's just part of the grieving process. And he made the following statement: "I had intended to call her for quite some time. I regret for not doing so." So, 7 of these victims were from Louisiana. 5 originated from New Orleans region, 2 from Baton Rouge. And the other victims were from outside the state, including 1 British international, 1 Israeli, and 1 Mexican nationality. So, like I said, there was also this one other incident before I let you go. They had this mother, and she was frantic. Her name was Rayonda Mott. She actually was awaiting news regarding her 27-year-old son, Tori, who resided in New Orleans, who was last seen around 10 p.m. on New Year's Eve, informing his relatives that he was intending on visiting at the French Quarter. Now, Rayonda Mott was a native of New Orleans, and he was actually residing in Memphis, Tennessee. And there was no communication from Harris by Wednesday. And as reports of the tragic event began to circulate during the incident, they know that several people died from this. And Mott has still not heard from her son. None of his relatives in New Orleans, including siblings, grandparents, or cousins, has seen or communicated with him since that day. And his mom stated the following: "He hasn't called. He hasn't reached out to say, 'Hey, I'm okay.' Nobody has heard from him. Just nothing." Mott contacted local hospitals and jails but found no trace of Harris. She also reached out to the Orleans Parish Coroner's Office and the hotline established by New Orleans officials for families seeking information about missing individuals. They asked for his name, date of birth, and description, assured her that someone would call her back. However, she has never received a call back yet. She attempted to follow up on the following Thursday, but received no response. The ongoing silence is just killing her and just leaving her in a state of just fucking pure panic and distress. Now, Mott said, I'm just frantic. I can't focus. Her family and friends are hoping that Harris is not included in that body count. As of now, Mott has made multiple posts on Facebook asking any information regarding her son's whereabouts. And while these posts have gained significant attention, they have not yet provided any insights to her son's condition or his whereabouts. Nonetheless, she continues to hold on to hope and convey a message to her son. I love you. Please reach out to someone and inform them that you are safe. So, y'all, I'm going to wrap it up right here. Then the next episode is going to be talking about this douche canoe, Samsa Din Jabbar. And, I mean, I just can't believe this shit actually happened. How senseless can someone be? How senseless. If you enjoyed the show, and I say enjoyed by just receiving the information, not, oh my God, happy hoo-hoo, because this is just a fucking sad and tragic situation. I can't fathom what these families are going through on losing their loved ones. But I ask that you please rate and review our podcast on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. And be sure to come back next week because we're going to do part 2. Now, this case is like so freaking long. It might actually be a 3-parter. I'm going to try to squeeze it all in 2 parts, but in the event that it can't, I'll let you know in the next episode. But until then, this is your host, Sarah Sadier, and don't forget to be nice to fucking people. Just be nice. You never know what the next person is going through. I say that all the time. And I also say I hate people, and I don't mean I hate people like I wish harm upon them. I just hate the stupidity actions that people take. I don't hate all people. I just hate some of people's actions, like this senseless individual. But I would love to hear what you think. If you have any more information on any of the victims, any other people involved in this situation, just reach out. Shoot us an email, criminalbehaviorpodcast@gmail.com. You can visit the website. Show us on Patreon at Criminalist Behavior Podcast. Again, we're located on every single podcast app. And until next time, I'm out. Y'all have a wonderful night and stay safe.